Welcome to Inspiration Rising. My name is David Trotter, and I'm a transformation coach dedicated to inspiring women and the men who support them to rise up in life, love, and leadership. I believe you are absolutely going to love this conversation with Erin Hooley. Married 2 weeks after her 19th birthday, she is now the mother to 6 children under the age of 14. Now, in this episode, she tells us the inspiring story of starting a side business selling hair clips for kids. She has no degree, no formal training, and Erin is now the founder and president of Erins Blossoms, a multi-million-dollar children's e-commerce clothing line, and Peyton Bre, its sister brand for tweens and teens. Not only that, she's the host of the Conquering Chaos podcast and is dedicated to developing a community of individuals who believe that business and motherhood are not enemies. Now, before we jump into this episode, I do want to remind you about a new class that I have that just became available called Overcoming Corona Whelm. Yes, let's be honest, all this social distancing, working from home, educating the kids, listening to the news, it's more than overwhelming, it's corona-whelming. It's pretty good, huh? Yeah. Now imagine if that constant buzz of anxiety, the heaviness of worry, if it was lifted. Imagine what it would feel like when you embrace your power to make creative, thoughtful decisions about your future right now. Not only is this possible, it's exactly what you can expect when you apply the principles that you're going to learn in this powerful class called Overcoming Corona Whelm. 5 video lessons with an accompanying digital PDF. And the bonus, you get a PDF of my new book, Empowered to Rise. Now, check it out at insporising.com/overcoming. That's insporising.com/overcoming and use the coupon code PEACE50, PEACE 50 for $50 off. All right, let's jump into my conversation with Erin E. Hooley. Well, Erin, thanks so much for taking some time to hang with me today. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you are running 2 extraordinary businesses, and you've been doing it quite a long time. So I want to hear just back to the beginning. Take us back. What was the motivation for getting started in business?
Oh, goodness. So way back, let's see here. I've always been a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit, though I never really identified it that way until quite a bit later in life. Went to school, didn't really have a path, so to speak, that I saw, especially in business. So I went there, kind of wasted my time a little bit, rode horses, took an equestrian course, that kind of stuff. But then when I got married, and I got married very young, at the age of 19, had my first kid at the age of 20, had 6 kids by the age of 28, and started a business making hair accessories for my daughter when my husband finished grad school. Okay. And this is in like 2008, right? So mid-recession, we're in our first little home in Arizona. The price of our home, we had paid for it, was 2/3 of what 3 times the amount of what it was now worth. My husband gets a job coming out of grad school, moves him to Michigan. And in the evenings, I was left alone. The kids are in bed. I had a 2, 1, and a newborn at the time. Wow. So in the evenings, I just got really antsy, overactive imagination, need to keep my hands busy, that kind of thing. And started making these little hair flower accessories. And quickly, I don't tend to do anything small. And so I quickly turned it into a business. Within 5 days, I had a website up, baileysblossoms.com, threw some things up on Etsy, and it was just a great opportunity and experience to grow into something different and keep me occupied at the time.
Wow. So you started out with a website, and obviously the name Erins Blossoms, I assume, is the flowers in the hair. That was where
that's what it was at the time. So it was Bailey based off of my first daughter. It was Bailey, and then Blossoms based off of these hair flowers. But ultimately, I'm making all these things. I'm literally going to Hobby Lobby, purchasing flower heads to come home, rip them apart, and glue them back together again and adhere them to clips. So that's really what I was doing, burning the tar out of my fingers and then selling them for like $3 to $5. And I'm thinking, how many of these am I going to have to make in order for it to be worth my time?
Yeah.
And so I'm a math and a spreadsheet girl. And I was also running a preschool out of our garage at the time, because that's what put my husband through school in the first place.
Wow.
And I needed to try to sell our home in the middle of the recession, try to finish up the school year before joining him in Michigan. So we were there for about 6 months on our own. And so now I'm doing the math, and I'm thinking, man, I make better money teaching preschool than I do making these stupid things. And P.S. it hurts. Like I've got the burns to prove it. So I started thinking, what can I do to increase the average order value, my dollar per hour proposition? Of course, I didn't have those fancy terms at the time, but I knew that I needed to make more money per hour.
Sure.
And so I thought, what else can I do to complement these to make people purchase more so that maybe they're spending $30 with me instead of $10? And I don't sew. I have no fashion background, nothing like that at all. And so I started doing DIY tutus, no sew tutus. And I would just tie these things in knots. And I just made these I have a very clear vision of what I want to create, even though I may not always possess all the skills. So I'm YouTubing it up and Googling it up and figuring it out and launched these tutus. Well, people loved them. I marketed them as like first birthday sets and everything else. And it was a huge hit on Etsy. But after a while, I realized I'm making all of these people very happy, but they can never come back because their child celebrated their first birthday. They're not going to have another one unless they have another kid. I'm never seeing anybody again.
Right.
So that's when another little aha moment went off. And I thought, okay, well, how do I get them to come back? All these people who already trust my quality, who already have put out these great reviews. And when somebody came to me and said, hey, my daughter's going to have an Alice in Wonderland themed birthday. Can you create an Alice in Wonderland themed tutu? And I thought, oh, that's genius. And so then I prepped for Halloween and I thought, let's turn them into witches and ghosts and pirates. And I mean, you name it, I could create a tutu costume for it. So I just gathered up all the accessories and made it adorable and rocked the heck out of Halloween. I mean, just killed it. And I'm looking now and I'm thinking, fast forward, now we're moving to Michigan. I shut down my preschool. I'm just doing Erins Blossoms predominantly on Etsy. We have our 4th child. Her name's Peyton. I mean, all of these things are happening. And I just remember thinking, okay, September, October, August even are all killer months, but then it's a dry spell in comparison the rest of the year. How do I get Halloween all year round?
Yeah.
So I'm constantly like, how do I do this? How do I do this? So anyways, the second Halloween that comes up, it completely flattened me out. I did not manage my time or balance anything well at all. Completely buried me. My house fell apart. I fell apart.
My husband doing all this at night once the kids go to bed or something.
At night, nap time, early in the mornings, anytime I can squeeze it in. I mean, truly, if you were to ask my neighbors at the time, they would tell you they would see me every day the sun was shining. I'd be sitting on a blanket on the driveway while all of my kids are riding bikes in a circle around the cul-de-sac, and I'm making tutus every day. So my husband gets this job offer to take us to Sao Paulo, Brazil. And he calls me and he goes, honey, I'm so sorry. You won't be able to work. Our spouses don't get work visas. I think you're going to have to shut it down. And I'm like, hallelujah. I will do that. Yeah. And I did. And he's like, okay. And I said, I need a break. I need to breathe. This is fantastic, but I need to step back and consider if this is what I really want.
Yeah.
And so
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
It sounds like your husband's a bit successful in whatever he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it sounds like you don't have to do these things in order to make the extra money.
Correct. I mean, in the beginning we did because, my husband, we were in over $100,000 of debt in 1 year based off of his schooling. It took a couple of years. He got a job with Mercedes-Benz Financial Services. He progressed very quickly in the company and it was a wonderful opportunity. And really for me, I always just needed something to fill me. Business has always been a part of who I was. Creating things, creation has always been a part of who I am, whether that's creation in motherhood with my kids or creation in business and just finding opportunities to solve problems. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So you're headed to Brazil now.
Yes. So I shut it down. I tell everybody on social media. We had about 25,000 followers on Facebook at the time. And this was in 2011. And I just said, hey guys, thank you so much for your support. Erins Blossoms is going to go on a break for the next 2 to 3 years. We're going to be abroad, but don't worry. When we come back, it's going to be bigger and better than ever before. And of course, I'm thinking, I have no idea what it's going to look like when we come back, but I knew I had a couple years to figure it out. So I was very excited to turn the page and just take a breather for a bit. We go to Brazil. We tackle that. I'm rubbing shoulders with some phenomenal entrepreneurs and just had 2 years to dream, just a dream. And so my husband, we moved back when it's time after 2 years is up. We moved now to Texas. So Michigan, Brazil, Texas. And when we come to Texas, and I said, we had gotten out of debt while we were in Brazil. We were very frugal in the way that we saved our money and allocated those funds. And then we were able to save up so we could purchase a home again. And this was our second home in Texas and our second opportunity to purchase a home. Our first one, obviously, in 2008 didn't go over so very well. So we were very excited to have that again. And I said, okay, we put our down payment on this home. We had this little nest egg left over of $35,000. And I said, I want to launch Erins Blossoms again. And he said, okay, well, how much is it going to take? And I said, all of it. And he said, you're kidding. And I'm like, no, I'm really serious. Like, I really think that this is going to be great. And he said, but what about balance? What about what happened last time? I said, here's the thing. I'm not going to make stuff anymore. I'm going to design it and I'm going to outsource the production and kind of provide and I'm also, at that point, I guess I was outsourcing the production of the materials, but I was going to provide the kits. Okay. And I said, so I'll sell the rolls of tulle, the elastic, the ribbon, the flowers, the clips, all the things, and put them in this DIY kit, create a tutu tutorial on YouTube and teach people how to do it themselves.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. And he allowed me to deplete our savings account. Bless his heart. He's incredible. And I told him, I said, give me 1 year and I'll put the money back where it belongs. And within 3 months, I was able to do it.
Wow.
So it was quite the opportunity, but ever changing, because then I have all of these people coming back. My ability to put out orders has quadrupled because now I'm not making things anymore and I'm seeing the potential and I'm going, okay, what's next? And this woman sends me a message and she goes, ma'am, will you please, I love your designs. Will you please just make it for me? I don't want to make it myself. And I said, well, it's really easy. She said, I don't really care how easy it is. I'm not interested in DIY. I just don't plain want to learn how to do this.
Just give me the tutu.
Just give it to me. She's like, I don't care how much it costs. And I thought, if I open up this can of worms, I'm not going to be able to close it again. And so I thought, I don't want to go back to what that looked like before.
Right.
I mean, I didn't even mention, we went to Brazil with 4 kids. We came back with 5. And at this point, I think I'm pregnant with number 6. So, I mean, it's just ever changing. Right. And so I said, you know what, let me go back to the drawing table and let me think of what I can come up with. And at that point I drafted up our first romper, and I put a romper, which is pre-made, together with a chunky jewelry set, together with a hair accessory. And I said, what do you think of this? And she said, I'm in love. That's what I want. And everybody loved them. And that's when I finally realized, what about clothing? And I very slowly started getting my feet wet into designing clothing. And now Erins Blossoms is a clothing line. So amazing. There it is.
When did you first sell that first romper online? Not just,
goodness.
Right? And how long has that taken you to get to this point?
Right. So original launch 2008, closed down in 2011, relaunch in 2013. This would have been roughly 2014. You know what? Probably late 2014, early 2015, if I had to guess. But I'm going to have to go back and really research to make sure I'm right. Right.
So it's 6 years. Yeah.
Yes.
And how many SKUs per, obviously you have different lines that come out and,
Erins Blossoms alone has, 7,000 SKUs, I would say. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. So it's grown very quickly.
Yeah. And what would you attribute to that quick growth over the last 6 years?
Oh my. Okay. So a little learning. And so in 2015, the end of the year, we've got 6 children. And I went to my husband and I said, here's the thing. We're starting to cross over into that uncharted waters territory again, where I'm wondering if I'm going to lose my mind. And we had converted one of the garages at our home to be an office space. I had moms bringing their kids to my house to come work 6 days out of the week, to double shifts. I mean, it was just crazy.
Wow.
And I had no opportunity to escape it. And I was starting to realize that while I loved business, I did not love leading and managing people. I didn't have the tools in my toolbox yet. And so I would get silently frustrated with things that were going on, but never actually vocalize. And then I just fix it quietly behind the scenes. So it was very poisonous, right? I mean, I look back and laugh and go back and want to smack myself around. But at the time, I didn't know any better. So I went to him, and he manages all these people in his career. And I said, here's the thing. I either need to shut this down, which something's telling me that would just be stupid, or I think you might need to consider quitting your job and doing this with me, because I don't think I can keep doing it alone at this point.
Yeah.
And in 2015, we were one of the fastest, or one of the largest and fastest growing children's brands on Etsy. And we did about $600,000 in sales on Etsy that year alone. And I didn't think life could get any better. So he goes, you know what? $600,000 in a year in sales shows some really great growth potential. So you know what? Yeah, 2016, why don't we budget as if your income is the only income that exists? And let's see if we can do this whole entrepreneur thing, right? Because even at that point, it's funny, I didn't even really consider myself one. I'm like, yeah, let's see if we can be entrepreneurs. Like I hadn't been one for the past however many years, right? So anyways, literally 2 weeks later after we had made that decision and Etsy made some changes to the platform, we got yanked from the platform. We were gone off of it overnight. So I wake up and I'm just going, oh my goodness. I'm conversing back and forth with them. There's no going back. I'm devastated. 85% of our sales are on their platform. And in my mind, Erins Blossoms is done for. We're over. So I walk out to the office to go and tell my then office manager, our customer service manager, that we're no longer on the platform. She's 8.5 months pregnant. And I tell her and she goes, Erin, are you telling me that after I have this baby, I'm no longer going to have a job? And I said, oh my gosh. In that moment, I'm thinking, that was what I was planning on telling you, but now I don't know that I can. And nothing short of divine intervention. I didn't know what to say, but I opened my mouth and I just said, no, I'm telling you that if you will be flexible with me, your job description just might change. And she said, what does that mean? And again, I just started talking. I said, you know what? Start sending a message to every person who's ever purchased with us on Etsy, because they don't give you an email list. You don't own your customer base. Right. And just email or send them a message through Etsy and say, hey, thank you so much for your support. We just wanted to give you a heads up. The Erins Blossoms can now exclusively be found at Bailey'sBlossoms.com. That's it. Nothing else. And so we copied and pasted all day for 2 days. And they're thinking, you're out of your mind. But by the end of the second day, our sales had almost quadrupled. And I'm going, why? What happened? Is this just last touch? I mean, what is this? And so I started digging in. I go to social media, see that we have an influx of people tagging us in photos. And I'm clicking on their profiles and I'm digging into who they are. And I'm thinking, this is really cool, but what the heck? And I start realizing these same people who are now tagging us have always had their kids wearing our things, but previous to that change had been tagging Etsy instead of Erins Blossoms. Suddenly we had claimed our brand name. And in doing that, then I became unapologetic about it. I changed our polymags. I changed our mailers. Hang tags, you name it. We put our brand on everything and it just took off. And we grew 233% that year.
Friends, if you're looking for inspiring reading material during your time of physical distancing, I want to encourage you to pick up my new book, Empowered to Rise, The Secret to Embracing Your True Identity, Uncovering Your Superpowers, and Bringing Your Inspiration to the World. I have a special bundle that I've put together for you. Of course, you can buy the book on Amazon, but I've put together a special bundle that includes a signed paperback copy, a deck of My True Identity empowerment cards, and an inspirational magnet. You can get it at insporising.com/bundle. That's insporising.com/bundle. I want to read you one of the Amazon 5-star reviews. This one from my new friend, Bernadette Logue. She's the founder of thedailypositive.com. She writes, Loved this book. So grateful to David for the inspiration and empowerment he delivers. His manifesto alone is soul-stirring and a brilliant tool for daily intention. I particularly liked the logical pathway provided through the book, which felt so practical to me as well as uplifting. From knowing our true identity and embracing that, to then uncovering our uniqueness and vision, to then bringing that to reality in the world with action. It all made complete sense to my logical left brain self while resonating with my spirituality. A wonderful resource. All right, check it out at insporising.com/bundle. Does your husband work with you full time, or does he?
He sure does.
He does. He made the transition.
Yeah.
And what role does he play in the business?
He's a CFO.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very.
He does all the fun stuff like taxes and
sounds just wonderful.
HR. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He loves it.
Aye. So in the midst of all of this, I mean, man, so many learnings. How did you figure out how to have, mother 6 kids and also create this business? I mean, that just seems overwhelming,
right?
In the process. Did you have outside help and support? Are they going to school? Do they have nannies?
So ironically, in the beginning of our marriage, I was a nanny for multiple families. And so I always knew, because I had that opportunity to be that I knew for me, that wasn't going to be the answer. I wanted to be with my kids. And so I created something, and I always had created things to where I could work with my kids in tandem or with my kids in tow. Mm-hmm. That got drastically complicated the bigger we got as we moved out of the garage and into a 6,000 square foot warehouse. And then from our 6,000 square foot warehouse now into a 25,000 square foot space. I mean, it's constantly gotten more complex, mm-hmm. but I've always been able to work around their schedules. I've always had the flexibility to be able to make that in each instance of our life work. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say I haven't completely fallen apart multiple times and cried and wondered, what in the world were you thinking doing this? Mm-hmm. But then I have to look back and I have to say, okay, how many days do I think this was stupid, Erin, versus how many days do I think, thank you, Lord, for this opportunity and for the fact that not only do I get to be home with my kids, but my husband gets to be home. Mm-hmm. And we've got 4 boys. They need their father's influence in their life. Mm-hmm. And so I just see blessings. Even through the hardship, I just see blessings. We've been really blessed to be surrounded by great people, but it has been a journey of me giving myself grace and understanding what balance actually is and what it's not. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions that I had, especially in the very beginning, was that balance meant if you're going to work 5 hours, Erin, then you also need to spend 5 hours with your kids. Well, I realized very quickly that that's not balance, because I could be with my kids for 5 hours, distracted on my phone, answering emails or texting people or doing whatever, scrolling on Facebook, and feel like I've accomplished nothing of value with them. Versus when I'm working, if I can focus solely on work and I can get in it deep and then get out of it. And then when I'm with my kids, if I can be fully present with my kids and then fully present with my religious obligations and fully present with my spouse, that's when I feel balanced. It's the ability to be present, to turn everything else off. And even if it's only for 20 minutes, my kids will value that 20 minutes of uninterrupted present time more than they would if I spent all day with them completely distracted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've heard you kind of refer to faith at some point along the way in our conversation a couple of times. How does that either help you, motivate you, integrate into what you're doing with business and family? Like, how does that play out for you?
Oh, it's everything for me. I am a very religious person, and for me, it keeps me grounded in knowing what I'm really trying to accomplish. I know that no matter what accolades and things that I can achieve or possess in this life is not going to merit me anything once this life is over. It's not going to matter. And so one of my favorite quotes is, no success in life can compensate for failure in the home. And I love that. It keeps me grounded and realizing, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I want to teach my kids that they can dream big. I'm doing this because I want to teach my kids what hard work looks like. I'm doing this because I want to teach them the value of an education and what that does to eliminate poverty. And then when they're blessed with financial means, I want to do this because I want to teach them what their responsibility is to pour into the world when they receive those blessings.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's just looking at all of those pieces, all those pieces to the puzzle, and determine what impact can I make, what influence can I have, and what changes can I instill on the world.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Some of this, it's just these questions are out of curiosity, just so you know.
Yeah.
I noticed that a lot of the style that you present in both Bailey's Blossoms and Peyton Bre is pretty conservative in terms of the actual, not only the patterns, but the meaning the design of the whether it's the flowers or something of that nature, as well as the cut. And so I'm wondering how much of your customer base is Mormon versus XYZ. And I doubt when you're taking the order, you're not having "Are you Mormon?" button clicked. Obviously, that's not the case.
That's a funny question. Yeah, it's true.
I'm just curious how much of that is catering to that clientele, and not only helping that clientele, but also helping your business.
Absolutely. So Peyton Bre definitely has the more conservative, the currently more conservative persona.
Sure.
Yes, and that was based off of my personal I'm watching my girls growing up and I'm going, stop,
I know, yeah.
And I'm going, that looks really cute on you. Too cute, actually.
I've got can those shorts get? Yeah.
I'm like, why are you 14? And why do you not look 14? So for me, there's a lot of things at play as far as, overprotective mom. But we've also had customers who've grown out of Bailey's, which was less so because I'm like, I can, half naked babies are perfect, right? Half naked tweens.
Yeah.
So, but I've also had a lot of people that have grown through Bailey's and into Peyton's going, wait a second, we want some of the same stuff. Why so conservative over here? So we've actually been kind of called out a little bit, and I'm going, okay. So we are finding that balance right now, so to speak, as far as it can't be one person's preference. This is a brand. Bailey's Blossoms is a brand that has been made up from the customers. I mean, if you go to the website, baileysblossoms.com, 85% of the images on there are customers. We didn't hire models. We didn't take the pictures. It's our customers are a part of our brand.
Yeah.
And we want to allow Peyton Bre to be the same. And so now we're finally old enough, because Peyton Bre is still a very new brand.
Right.
And we're finally old enough to be getting that feedback back and to go, okay, well, now in the second round of designing, we're going to do it with more sets of eyes than just one. And what does that look like? So to your point, do we have a reputation right now for being conservative? Yes. But am I listening and looking for opportunities to listen to the customer base that we have and not trying to target just one? Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a finding the balance there.
Gotcha. So racy Mormons are stepping up saying, we want less conservative clothing. Is that what I hear you saying? Is that what I hear you saying?
We have to put out a customer poll and see how people respond to this. Oh my word. That's fantastic.
We want some tube tops for our Mormon daughters. No, we do not. Okay. So I know, what motivated you to start Peyton Bre? I think you started in 2018, I think it was, around there.
We started it a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, but not quite, about a year and a half ago. And it actually was launched. This is a tender story. It was launched as a social selling company, so direct sales. Mm-hmm. And we had one of the most successful launches in the history of direct sales, posed to be a really great success story. And the whole concept of me dreaming this up was my daughter was 11, 12 years old. My other daughter, 8 at the time. And I was thinking, okay, they're no longer the Erins Blossoms age anymore. They're not toddlers anymore. They're becoming young women. What does that look like? How do I continue connecting with them? Because during this awkward stage where a lot of times mothers and daughters are butting heads, I didn't want that. And so we created this opportunity for mothers to be able to provide for their families, to be able to host in-home shows and all these things coinciding with their daughters, to be able to, with this concept of mothers and daughters growing together, learning through mom's example, all these things. Well, I mean, very, very near and dear to my heart, even now, and potentially matching outfits, right? So, but what happened was based off of inventory projections that were completely wrong. I way overpurchased. I projected their ability to sell based off of my experience, not based off of the fact that they would have none. And so what happened was every time that we purchased or we hit the minimum order quantity for a new design, those that we had that were selling the product could only had the ability or the purchasing power to purchase 11% of it. So every time we launched a new design, break even point didn't cap until 50%. I lost $2 million in 6 months. It was catastrophic.
Are you still selling those designs? Like, are you still have that in the warehouse?
Some of them, but I'm like, we're going to celebrate so big. I mean, here's the killer thing. After we siphoned as much as we could and we realized, put together some projections and saw what it would look like if we allowed it to continue on, we realized we were going to bury ourselves. And so I made the very, very hard announcement, went on a live, sobbed my eyes out and just said, hey guys, here's what happened. We are going to change the business model to what I know best, which is traditional retail wholesale model. You can still sell the product as a wholesaler, but we're going to sell the product too. We have to be able to get rid of the rest of this inventory or we will not last. And then within 8 months of making that change, in 8 months, we were able to cross over into the 7-figure sales mark. So, and it saved us. It saved us. So now, yes, we have 2, you can call them multi-million-dollar brands, whatever. But the nice thing is I was able to prove what we did that worked for Bailey's over on Peyton, so that then I could take it to struggling brands, which is now what I also do is executive coaching and training on social media and e-commerce, and show them, hey, you may be struggling. So were we. Here's what we did. Here's the solution. Here's this plan in action. Let's create this out and fix this together. So it's really been. I struggle to say a blessing in disguise because I know for some people it really hurt them and that really devastates me. But when I really step back and I realize how many people are being blessed from it now, I cannot not be grateful for the lessons that I learned, no matter how hard they were.
Yeah, so challenging.
Yes.
Talk for a minute about your relationship with your husband in the context of now he's working with you.
Yes.
I assume you're in the same office. You're working together. Now, and this is a fascinating dynamic. Does he report to you?
That's a great question. We get it a lot. So on paper, if you were to look at the hierarchical structure of how businesses work, you could say that. Ultimately, if someone's got to pull a trump card and make a decision and we're not in agreement, if it falls under my jurisdiction of overall company vision, where we're headed, design, social media, all of those things, then ultimately, if I have to play a veto card, I don't play it in a dirty way. We're going to talk it through until he's like, I don't really understand this, but I trust you, go for it. On the flip side, if he's going taxes this, HR that, structural foundation, blah, 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 and I don't agree, ultimately, he's going to talk my ear off until I say, I don't really understand this, but I trust you, so okay. Sure. We're definitely a side-by-side partnership regardless of our titles. But we do have an interesting dynamic because we are so completely different. When we built this office that we're in now, we actually built a very large office for us to share. And in it, we put, a couch in the corner with the television for the kids if they were, and some toys and stuff so that they could come and hang out with us if we ever needed to bring them after school hours, that kind of thing. But as we were building out the whole office, and I went to him kind of sheepishly and I said, honey, I love you so much, but I don't want to share an office with you. And he was so sad. And he's like, seriously, you don't? Why? And I said, well, because, and at home we shared an office. I said, consider what it feels like. I said, when you're doing taxes, and I said, I'm both creative and analytical. So, but I cannot do both at the same time. It's one or the other. If you're doing taxes and I'm in my creative zone and I'm, working on a podcast or I'm writing a book or I'm designing clothing or whatever it is I'm happening to do, and you turn around and you say, hey, such and such ATS code, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? I'm sorry, what? And he'd have to ask me like 5 or 6 times. And it would be this hard shift over. And I finally said, holy smokes, we are sabotaging one another's time because we're taking so much advantage of the fact that we're conveniently right there. And I did it to him too. Mm-hmm. Anybody else, if they needed to talk about taxes or HR or design or whatever it happened to be, would book an appointment. You'd block out some time on your calendar to sit down for 30 minutes or an hour, but we weren't doing that to each other. We were constantly interrupting one another. Not to be mean, but just because it was convenient.
Sure.
Yeah. So I just said, I would love to have my own space. And I think that you deserve your own space. And so that's what we ended up doing. And it's the greatest thing ever. So I can yell to him on the other side of the wall. He can still hear me.
That's great.
But it works well for us. We just had to figure out what are those healthy parameters to keep us in love with one another.
Yeah, of course. And when you go home, how much of that conversation does, it take home as well? Or
it's so natural to bring it all home.
Yeah.
And we've noticed, and there've been multiple times, it's not a flawless execution. You're constantly learning from your mistakes and trying to improve upon them. So, we love to be in the hot tub when the kids are sleeping, especially when it's cold outside, right? And I remember one time we were in the hot tub for like an hour and a half. And at the end of it, I was so stressed. And I thought, why am I so stressed? This is the most relaxing place in the world. And then I realized for the whole hour and a half, we were talking about work. And I said, this is not okay. Like, we need to put it away. How do we do that? So there are times where both of us have to call each other out and say, we need to put this away. And what does that look like? So it's just constantly being aware and having enough communication and enough trust to be able to say even the hard things, knowing that it's in one another's best interest.
Mm-hmm. You have 2 girls.
Yes.
Do they get to wear anything else other than your brand?
Are you kidding me? Peyton, which the second business, Peyton Bre, is named after her. She hates everything I make. Every single thing.
How old is she right now?
She turns 10 tomorrow.
Okay.
She's a turd and I love her to death, but she is about as tomboyish can come. So we're even thinking, what does a little line of athleisure wear within Peyton Bre look like just to appease her? Because at one point I said, honey, we were doing an Inc. 5000 photo shoot. And I said, you can't not wear Peyton Bre for this. And she's like, ugh, it has flowers on it. And I said, here, have this one. It's solid green. I'm like, it's practically like your brothers could practically wear it. And she's like, there's a bow. I mean, she's so mad.
Wow.
So, she's so funny. And I said, well, what would you like to wear? She goes, if you make something black with a skull on it, I'll wear it. And I'm like, okay, I'll see what I can. Oh my gosh. I don't even know whose child you are.
That is amazing. That is so funny.
She's fun. She's so much fun.
That's great. All right. So we've got
Bailey, on the other hand,
line coming out.
Right. I'm like, oh my gosh, all the things. We're crossing all kinds of boundaries.
We've got the racy line. We've got the goth line.
There you go. Oh my word.
Wow. And so what about Bailey? Because she's older. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. Bailey's 14 and she's into all the things. She loves to come and help me design. She loves to help pick apart the samples. And
very fun.
Yeah, she loves it.
And how about the boys? How did they, how are they participating or not, or see this whole business?
Yeah.
What are their thoughts on it?
The nice thing about family-owned businesses is traditional laws as far as working don't apply. So we have our fulfillment center, which is attached to our office space. Mm-hmm. And even yesterday, both both of my sons and Peyton were both here helping to pull some orders and pack some orders. And so, I mean, we want them to learn work ethic. We want them to appreciate the team and the effort and understanding that the blessings that you see and that you get to participate in do not come by sitting idly by. And if you want to participate in them, then you need to work too. But we're not, I mean, my kids will make comments, oh, someday when I'm 16, I get X car. And I'm like, well, you better start saving your penny because mom and dad are not that cool.
Wow.
We're not giving you handouts. You're going to work for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So good. Okay. And you are hosting a podcast called Conquering Chaos.
Yes.
Now, why did you choose that name?
Oh, because of my life. I'm like 6 kids, 2 businesses. We're all kinds of chaos. And I say conquering almost in jest because it's a day-to-day. Sometimes conquering just means laughing. Sometimes conquering means the fact that my house didn't burn down today. I mean, it's a great sense of humor. It's the ability to roll with the punches and stand upright after you fall for the 1,000th time.
Wow. All right. So people can you out and your personal work at ERINEHooley.com, which is crazy. You obviously they can Google Erins Hooley, but there's another Erins Hooley, prominent photographer,
right? When I saw I'm like, don't go to ERINHooley.com unless you want to see a photographer. I mean, she's cool too. I need to meet her someday. But I'm like, dang, I don't ever go by Erins E. Hooley, but now I have to.
That is so funny. And obviously we'll link to bailey'sblossoms.com and peytonbre.com. How often do people say Peyton Bre?
All the time. All the time. Mm-hmm.
Do you correct them or you just let it slide?
Depends. I'm like, it depends on what context, right? But no, it's Peyton Bre. Her middle name is after one of my best girlfriends growing up. We went through a lot together and her nickname was Bre. So
very cool.
Yeah.
I know that you have something you want to give away today. It's the daily planner sheet and a time tracker.
Yes.
How has this been helpful for you and how might it be helpful for listeners?
So going back to what we touched on earlier about your ability to be present in everything that you do, my idea of a successful day starts out with being incredibly intentional. Being able to get up, clear my head before all the chaos ensues, set my intention for the day, understand what I'm working towards, and then block it out and track it. Because ultimately, you can have the best intentions in the world and then completely ignore them. And if you're not tracking it or holding yourself accountable to it, you think that you've only wasted a week of your life, but it may have been 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 8 months. And so for me, I like both of these printables help me to have a very clear visual to hold myself accountable to say, okay, how am I doing? Am I allocating my time in the way that feels good to me? Do I need to make any adjustments? What are they? So both of these printables have been very beneficial for me in making sure that I manage my time well.
Good. Okay, the URL is a little long, so we're going to link to it in the show notes. You can swipe up on your phone now and click on that. It's a daily planner sheet and time tracker, or you can go to our website, insporising.com, and find it there as well. Oh my goodness, Erin, I am so just in love with what you're doing. And I just...
Thank you.
Great work. I mean, it is so, you can look at it from the outside and go, look at her, ultra successful. It's so much work.
It is a lot of work.
Yes. And you have just been doing it for a long time, investing in your customers and your family. And so I just admire what you're doing. So
thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
If you were inspired by my conversation with Erin, take a moment and share it with a friend. All you have to do is screenshot your phone, text them the image, and tell them to subscribe to Inspiration Rising on their favorite podcast app. And don't forget to register for the Overcoming Corona Whelm class at insporising.com/overcoming. That's insporising.com/overcoming. Now, during this time of physical distancing, you have the power to dream up something incredible. I mean, the next Bailey's Blossoms could be in your head and heart right now, but it requires you to take action. And so what would it look like to start going after your dreams right now.